What's going on, my plant peoples? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening as a form of horticultural therapy, addiction recovery, also ADHD life skills, and basically anything that you could think of. And I am inside of my greenhouse, and I'm preparing this for some very, very early planting. Now, I did a video last week on the spring veggie drafts for 2023. If you didn't see that, go check that out. That was a lot of fun to do. You'll get a better idea as to what type of crops that you could be growing in your greenhouse or cold frame right now. I'm going to be hitting a few points as to some do's and don'ts when it comes to your greenhouse and trying to start some veggies outside in the middle of still wintertime. So come with me as I hook up my greenhouse while it's still in the wintertime with some seedlings. Let's go over the soil and, let's see what's going on. This cauliflower plant was from last year, but the reason why I'm saving it for this year is because I want those seeds. And if you know anything about the brassicas, like cabbage and cauliflower and so on and so forth, they are biennials, which means you will get some seeds the second year around. That's why that's still there. But for now, I have a little bit of cleaning up to do. Those were a bunch of parsnips and carrots that I had sown from fall time. But as you can see, it's looking really hurt because my chickens were in here and they were destroying everything. I have a little bit of cilantro here, but it's looking a little messed up. Same thing here. My chickens literally destroyed my entire thing, so I needed to do a lot of work in here. I forgot to mention that the first thing you really want to be worrying about is, what are you going to be planting inside of here? Is it going to be growing still in the dead of winter? And also, does it require a lot of sun? Like right now, I'm in the greenhouse is right at the peak of where the sun is going to be at. So I know that this is going to raise up by a lot of, a few degrees during the day. If you have a plant or a seedling that's going to be needing at least 6 hours of sunlight a day, be considered as to where you're going to be putting your greenhouse or cold frame. Jose redid the inside of my greenhouse. He gave me some nice wooden garden bed sides so I can have easier planting. One thing to keep in mind is that when you're growing in a greenhouse or a cold frame, the conditions are going to be a lot easier and a lot warmer. But that means that unwanted weeds are going to be sprouting out everywhere. So that means that I wound up laying down a bunch of cardboard down here to suppress all of the weeds that are going to try to pop in as soon as the warmer weather starts going. Hey, Chip, what are you doing? Hey, Chippy. Inside of a greenhouse, if it's properly insulated or enclosed off from all the wind and everything, then the soil should not freeze at all. I mean, if you're depending on what zone you're in, I'm in zone 6AB border. So that means my soil, really did not freeze inside of this greenhouse. Being that it did not freeze, it is still workable. And that means we can start working on this right now for a lot of the seedlings. I also left my irrigation lines out just so I have a better idea as to where in the garden bed I'm going to be planting. If it's one thing I've learned from the mistakes from last year, is that planting wherever you feel like it is not always a good thing, especially if you're really relying heavily on some irrigation lines. If you plant something right here and the irrigation line is over here, you're really not going to get a lot of water. So I've learned that once I put my irrigation straight on top of my garden beds, I already know I have an idea as to where I'm going to be planting. I have a lot of stuff going inside of this greenhouse, and some of them have already been started. If you see my last week's video on the spring veggies draft for 2023, I have a lot of these already started. This is broccoli, and that's looking pretty good. I have lavender here. I have some lettuce, spinach. I'm sure I have something here. I just don't remember what it was. The only bummer when it comes to having a greenhouse and also being able to start some veggies early is that you are also contending with weeds. Now that is a major problem, especially when it comes to organic gardening, because you really don't want any weeds, but you also do not want to use any pesticides or chemicals inside of your garden. You have two options when it comes to the weeding part. Now, one, you can put a landscape fabric on top of this to hopefully suppress the weeds, but then you're gonna have to poke a bunch of holes inside the landscape fabric, and depending on what you're planting and when and how long your rotations are going to last, if you're doing succession cropping or succession planting, then you may want to consider what you're going to be planting inside of this greenhouse. I'm not going to use the landscaping fabric because I am always just changing and moving around a lot of plants inside the greenhouse. So that's just too much work to be messing with a landscape fabric. But that means you got to be up on top of your weeding. And that also means paying attention. observing, being mindful and aware of what you're growing inside of your garden. I'm just gonna space out some areas because being that I'm trying to get more organized, this greenhouse is going to be definitely some crops that I may be, sending out, giving out, selling, who knows. So I want to get a little more organized. So every section is going to be a specific plant. All right, so I got a few more sticks to do and just lay them down. And, I want to get more organized, so maybe this can help me. If you have any tips or tricks on how to stay organized, especially if you're trying to grow a lot of a certain amount of crops, whether you're going to be for selling it, for family, for friends, let me know down in the comments below. Do not do this. I mean, ideally you would want some stakes for the irrigation, but for now I needed to hold it down so I have a better idea as to what and where I'm going to be planting. All these seedlings that I have here can be planted right now inside of this greenhouse, but I want them to have even better of a fighting chance. Now that I think about it, imagine putting a little baby seedling into the ground. Now, mind you, you don't have no weeds, but what if those weeds start growing and they actually outgrow the plant that you put in the ground? So now you don't know the difference between the weeds and the plant that you put in there. That's why if I transplant them a little taller or a little larger, I can definitely tell the difference between the weeds and the actual plant. These, I only have one true leaf on here, and that is this one right here. That one true leaf is not enough for me to take out of this seedling tray. This one right here, we got 2 true leaves on here, but at the same time, it's still a newbie, so I'm really gonna leave them here. But once it is ready to go, I'm gonna transplant it out. To be honest, I'm surprised this rosemary still survived inside of here. I got one little cabbage in here. I'm wondering how well will this survive. It is a little on the cold side, but I guess this will be a great experimentation. But I have a feeling, a very good feeling, that this will do great considering my cilantro is still doing good. Today's the next day and I have more plants to put inside the greenhouse, but oddly enough, it's snowing. Every year I wind up planting some veggies way too late into the garden season, and I said no more of that. I needed to try to get more organized, so I figured let me start them a lot earlier than I did last year and the year before that. You saw that I put out a bunch of veggies, but I also have a lot of flower plants from the flower draft, the 2023 pick. If you've seen that video, I'm gonna drop it right over here so you can go check that out. But there's only certain type of flowers that you can bring outside, and when it's this cold. So you have to be very, very careful, but I'm gonna show you what I got out here. These calendulas sprouted inside, but I also know that they are cold hardy, so they will do relatively well in here. I also have some daisies, and I sprouted some more daisies here. I'm waiting for them to germinate. I have some hollyhocks there. These are supposed to be frost hardy. I do have some milkweed here. I'm gonna wonder, and I guess this is an experiment to see, will it continue to germinate and grow? I got more kale, and I sowed some other different type of seeds here. I also have some stocks. These are the new Japanese flowers that I have. I'm very excited about them. That just has lettuce, spinach, because that goes very, very fast. And now we're just gonna wait and see how the winter goes and continues. It's the next day. As you can see, it is bright and sunny outside today, and I'm about to go inside of this greenhouse and check up on a lot of the flower seedlings and veggie seedlings and see how well did it fare in the cold ass temperatures for the past few nights. I don't know if you can see the humidity. You see that? That is a good sign. That is a really good sign if you ask me. Yo, it is actually warm in here. Well, not warm like, spring warm, but definitely warmer than it is outside. And so far, what do we have here? All of them are looking pretty darn good. All right, I do have questions about these petunias, but they are germinating. Look how chiquito they are. I'm so excited. Everything seemed to have been able to hold on. This is a perfect example of why I was trying to experiment. Even the milkweed. All right, that one is a little on the... No, and they all did good. Oh, and I even got a little baby sprout. Rosemary still intact. Cuttings still doing good. Lettuce, of course, the OG, doing awesome. Even the little baby chiquito that I planted right here in the soil because the soil is still soft. Hey, that means I think I'm ready to plant all the other ones. Nice. I really hope you enjoyed this video and you got some good information. Let me know down in the comments below what zone you're in. And also, are you trying to grow right now? Because now is the time to get it started, especially when we have a large season coming to us and we're trying to be over ambitious. like usual, and growing a lot of stuff. Until the next episode, you guys, you and me both. Oh, don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. You can catch me on TikTok, Instagram, on Facebook all the time, so catch me there. Until the next episode, you guys, where you and me both are going to be growing our happiness one plant at a time, one day at a time. Until the next episode, peace and love.